January 27th, Brookfield, New Hampshire Planning Board, public hearing for Moose Mountain. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's 7:05, and anybody that wants to speak, please make sure you have signed the sign-in sheet, which we have up here. If you haven't signed it and you do want to speak, feel free to come up and do that. There are some procedures that are in our rules of conduct, and I'll just read those very briefly. They're not very long, so don't worry. Please address all questions and comments to the chair, which is me. Parties will not address each other directly, so we'll keep the chatter down. In fact, please don't speak out of turn, most importantly. Identify yourself and your address before you speak, and no side conversations. It's really important that we conduct business professionally here. I'm going to read the text of the notice, which maybe you have seen posted outside. And the public hearing is stated as follows. The Planning Board will hold a public hearing at the Brookfield Town Office Building, or here, 267 Wentworth Road, Brookfield, New Hampshire, 03872, January 27th, 7 p.m. on a site plan review application of 603 Moose Mountain Lodge on property located on Moose Mountain Road in Brookfield. Tax map 30, lot 2. Proposed project includes full-service restaurant, outdoor alcohol service, tubing, sledding, weddings, other functions, skiing, snowboarding, craft fairs, food trucks, outdoor movie theater, mountain biking, 2 caretaker dwellings, RV parking, ice skating rink, lighted business sign, live entertainment, and all other permitted uses. The permitted uses, for those of you that don't know, is in our zoning ordinance under Appendix E. The application was accepted by the Planning Board back in October 21st, as complete. And we asked for additional information along the way. Finally, we've scheduled this public hearing, and we'd like Moose Mountain to come up and address the materials that you've presented, you have for us to present. Please also state if you're owner or authorized agent.
Daniel Muller from Zelensky. I represent the owners of this property. With me and from the owner, Molly. I'm going to make a brief presentation today, but I think there is a procedural issue at this point in time. More specifically, pursuant to Article 6, Section F of your subdivision site plan regulations.
Could you speak a little
board?
Could you just speak louder? I don't know there.
Sure. I can.
Yeah, go for it.
Usually projection's not an issue, so I'll speak a little bit louder. Again, Daniel Muller from Cronin Zelensky. I represent the owners of the property. With me as well, one of the operators of the restaurant on the property who plans to make a presentation. But as I indicated, we believe that there is a procedural issue, specifically under Article 6, Section F of your subdivision site plan regulations. As the chair just indicated, this application was accepted back on the 21st of October. Pursuant to your regulations and the state statute, the board has essentially 65 days to act upon the application, unless it obtains an extension from the applicant beyond that period. Section F provides, and this is a little bit different from the statute, but under a case called Boussier versus Roberge, a municipality does not have to exercise all their powers under statute. There's a more complex procedure under statute if there's not timely action on an application. But your regulations plainly provide that if you do not timely act, it is deemed accepted, it's deemed approved. 65 days have come and gone. There has been no extension that I'm aware of that's granted, therefore it should be deemed approved at this point in time. With that being said, obviously we see all the people here tonight who have an interest, obviously, in this project. Molly here is prepared to make a presentation, so at the very least, the public can be advised as to what is going to be done on the property, and we'll have an opportunity to ask any questions in that regard. But again, from our perspective, and I understand the owner has put something into the Board of Selectmen looking for the certificate pursuant to Article 6, Section F. But with that in mind, I will turn it over. Questions?
Well, my name is Molly, and I'm one of the owners of 603 Moose Mountain Lodge, LLC. And I came today to present what our project at Moose Mountain currently is. I'll go back to most of you in the room. But I do have a little something put together just to kind of bring you all to where we stand today, how we got here, what we're looking to do. So, welcome in, and thank you for coming to our public hearing for Moose Mountain.
Molly, excuse me, if you want to come up here so you can face everybody, you don't need the podium. That's fine.
Sounds good. I would like to start by thanking the people here in support and also the people here for their own concerns. We are here working to serve the community, and without you here, we wouldn't be able to truly understand the desires of the surrounding community. We understand that our site plan application might seem really intimidating and aggressive at first glance. As we wrote to our neighbors before opening, try not to think of us as another company invading your space in the woods, but another neighbor looking to have you walk on over as often as you'd like. I would like to try and paint our vision to you so you can understand what motives drive us to do what we are doing at Moose Mountain. Our mission statement at 603 Moose Mountain Lodge, LLC is to create an atmosphere welcoming all generations in a locally nostalgic place, inviting locals to have a day getaway from the underwhelming day-to-day buzz, and have endless possibilities to fulfill their days. We offer a wide selection of recreational activities along with a homey restaurant and bar on a beautifully scenic mountain. Our mission is to serve our local communities with days of joy, fulfilling the mind, body, and appetite. I believe Moose Mountain has always been a natural gift to the area. I mean, we are in the Lakes region and the state of the White Mountains. The area itself is a natural playground, a place for families and outdoor enthusiasts to really enjoy the great outdoors. The rec zone offers acres for endless possibilities with room for the community. As far back as the 60s, Moose Mountain has offered views, physical amusement, and generational memories to all who's crossed its paths. No matter the owner of the property, it has always been offered to the community. Those individuals used it for hiking, skiing, tubing, dining, disc golf, snowshoeing, mountain biking, events, and shows, plenty more. Bringing the people from different homes of Brookfield and the surrounding areas together for a day of unforgettable, simple memories. That is something Moose Mountain and our team wants to make sure that continues to happen. As someone who is from the younger generation and was born and raised only 3 miles from Moose Mountain, I have heard stories of the history of Moose Mountain, the stories and memories the locals had. Even though the mountain did not operate at the same rate it had in the original days, Moose Mountain was a big piece of growing up here. My sister worked there during high school, and I would go to friends' birthdays or tubing there, and as I grew older, Copple Crown and Moose Mountain were great hikes to do over the summer. With little to nothing in the area for families and kids to do, and everything now being more expensive or further than it should be, it's now that we need Moose Mountain revived for our community. To get here, we worked diligently to do the process correctly, getting all state licenses and certifications, notifying the neighbors, and speaking with the townsmen. February 6th, we reached out to the planning board regarding our intent, who left us with no response. The Liquor Commission reached out February 8th, notifying the town of a liquor license application, which they had a 15-day window to dispute, to which the town left no response. April 8th, we sent out letters to all of the neighbors on Moose Mountain Road to notify them of our intent. In May, after opening, we knew the main reason people were coming to Moose Mountain was to be outside. Some even brought their dogs, and we wanted to accommodate that experience, and went to the town for permission to have outdoor seating in the grass beyond the west side wall in the bar room. The State Liquor Commission and Chief of Fire were more than happy to approve this area for extended service. The next step in the state application was to get selectmen approval. This started the process we are still going through today. After speaking with the selectmen, they advised us to meet with the planning board first. We were sent back and forth between the boards a number of times with no answers. In June, they mentioned that outside alcohol was a change of use requiring a site plan. They also said the restaurant and bar was a change of use and that there was never a restaurant here previously. We would need to file for a site plan under change of use. On October 1st, we got a letter from the town stating we needed to shut down on November 1st or file a site plan beforehand. October 14th, we went into a planning meeting to discuss this letter, which we were advised by the majority to submit the uses we could use in the next few years. We submitted our application the following week at a special meeting on October 21st, and the board voted unanimously to accept the application as complete, starting a 60 or 65-day countdown to hold a public hearing, which would have been on or before December 25th. Why did we need to submit a site plan in June? 107 Moose Mountain Road, Brookfield, New Hampshire is zoned Rec 1. The zoning ordinance has permitted and conditional uses. The definition of permitted land uses is permitted land use in New Hampshire is when a landowner uses their land in accordance with the current zoning laws. This is also known as a primary use or a use by right. When the current property owners purchased the land, they were under the impression that they were allowed to act on all permitted uses, which was confirmed by the board in 2020 when they shut down a church group being hosted by the property owner and retracted this action because it was a permitted use. When the property owners then asked me and Bridget to join their team, they provided us with the permitted uses and asked to bring back the previous life Moose Mountain had. Under the same impression, we started to think about what we could need to make a day of activities worth it. That's when we decided we needed to bring the lodge back to a place to relax and recharge between outdoor activities. We had already submitted all proof of licenses, certifications, and current plans of operation to the board before being asked to file for site plan. With no intent did we try to backdoor the process or the town. We were just under a very different understanding of what the Rec 1 zoning required, with the idea that our business could be restricted or prohibited completely. Now we understand that the site plan process shouldn't feel that way, and we are incredibly happy with the fact that we get to see some new faces of the community tonight, and it gives you, the public, the opportunity to talk directly to us about some concerns or recommendations you may have. We will not close the door to discussion at the end of this meeting. We will always have the door of the lodge open to our community and our neighbors for the chance to express their experiences and concerns. Even though there are 4 of us on our team, the more information, opinion, and ideas we have, the better well-rounded the experience Moose Mountain will have to offer. So, I don't know if at this point we can allow the public to ask me questions or I can go into further detail.
I think the floor is yours if you want to share some of the site plan.
Yeah. So this is a really rough sketch of kind of all of the activities that we have submitted for. So there was a total of, 60 things on the permitted / conditional continued permitted uses. So we put all of these on this drawing here. It is very minimal things that we are probably going to actually act on that are in our permitted uses. We just wanted to be able to have the opportunity to use those uses at the time that we need them. So if we have a special event of some sort, we didn't want to have to go and wait through the process for a couple of months. So there's a lot of things on here that may never actually be acted on or actually go through the process of any form of building or using or scheduling. So I'll start here. With this green area here is along the original line for the main chairlift for the original ski area. And on there, I put that that's where, the zip line or an alpine slide or a luge would go. Now, I'm not very experienced with those things, so I'm not really sure that those things will come into play. But if they do, I would assume they would follow the original lines that are still there. You wouldn't need any other additional clearing. We have these dark blue circles here in the middle. That's where we propose an ice rink would go. So there used to be an ice rink there, and we would like to issue that again, kind of, a backyard ice rink where people can come bring their skates. It would either be in the front of the parking lot, behind the tree line, or behind the lodge in the flat area where it was previously. And like I said, this is a very rough sketch. We haven't had an engineer look over a lot of this stuff yet, but roughly where it would go and where it would fit with the land lines and the elevation and slopes. I will jump to this big orange square here, which is theater, food trucks, craft/antique shows, RV parking, vending carts, and archery. This is basically the width of our parking lot. Our parking lot is roughly 1/10 of a mile, and this would be behind the tree line, so it would be separated from the road. When it is summertime, you can't see beyond that tree line. It's very full. You can't see anything that happens beyond that tree line from the roadway. I know theater and outdoor movie theater brings some questions into play. Our original proposal for an outdoor movie would be something pretty small and removable. It would be an inflatable screen, throw it up on the back of the mountain or in the parking lot somewhere for, a limited time, a one-day event, maybe a couple times a year. Or if we were to go any further for construction or anything like that, we could go as far as, a drive-in theater where we'd have to put up a small building for a projector and 2 flat screens, which would not cause any harm to view of the mountain. Food trucks and craft and antique fairs, they would be as needed as we book them. It would not be a routine thing. It would be something that is, again, something special, special event, and occasional thing. All of these pink squares here are where we put for banquet facility activities with the outside alcohol/weddings. So Moose Mountain has previously been used for special events and weddings. We wanted to allow our guests to be able to choose where they would like their ceremony to happen, and that could be one of these multiple areas or closely relative to those areas. Those are already all flat. We would have a way to make sure that people were being, securely behaving out there, I guess. And then we have these green lines here. That would be for fishing or swimming. I really don't advise anyone to swim in the creek at Moose Mountain, but we live in New Hampshire, so I don't know. And of course, the fishing would be by owner's permission. You'd have to ask special permission. I don't even know if there's good fish in there. I doubt it, but just in case, that's where it would take place. And then it gets pretty hard to see over here, but we have 3 other buildings that are color coordinated brown. That would be for equipment rentals or sales. As of right now, we use one of those buildings for equipment rentals for disc golf. We have a disc golf scene course there, 18 holes. We can rent a disc and a couple other things in that little building. So if we were to add on to that, that's where those would go. No new buildings being proposed. This green lot here would be for mini golf. We actually have part of the disc golf go through there. But it would be the only place that is flat enough to issue something that would take up more space. So that would be actually in front of the tree line on the right side of the driveway. It's about 400 feet or so from the tree line to the road, and I would say width probably 20 to 30 feet. But one of those things, I'm not really sure we will ever disc golf at our mini golf at Moose Mountain, but if it was, it would happen here. This light blue circle here would be for hot air ballooning. So I know nothing about hot air ballooning, but if we were to have an event with hot air ballooning that would have to take place, I know the regulations for that have to be a 200 square foot area where they can take off and land. And so the only area that we already have cleared and wouldn't have to clear more would be that front lawn space to the left of the driveway. Same dimensions there. It's about 200 feet, 250 feet to the tree line. And then I would say anywhere between 60 to 100 feet wide from the already cleared line. And then right across here, right along the tree line, we have this blue line that faces upward. Now that takes a big bulk of the activities off the list that we're applying for, which most of these activities are already happening at Moose Mountain or have happened in the past. And these would all be activities that have to do with the elevation itself. So snowshoeing, snowboarding, snowmobiling, trail running, downhill skiing, stuff like that. Then we have a few oddballs on there, like dancing or day camp or bird watching. I mean, that would all happen behind the tree line, on the elevation, on the actual mountain itself. I'm not proposing any new structures at this time, any new lighting at this time. There's the original lighting from the original ski area that would most likely be reinstated or fixed up to give the same elements. I believe they're on this map here. That's where the lighting is. We would issue that again. We don't have any new construction, new lighting, or anything really being proposed today. If anything was to happen within the next couple of years for development or construction, it would be minimal. We would have to go to the town for the correct building permits, we have to be inspected, etc. So I'm sure we would revisit the board at that time.
Thanks, Molly.
You're welcome.
Does anyone on the board have any questions or comments?
I have a question about some of the activities. Any of them going to be at night or mostly during the day?
Most of these activities would happen during the day. A lot of them, like archery or something like that, would take place during the day, as it doesn't seem logical to have additional lighting. A big issue that we actually face at Moose Mountain is we don't have three-phase power. So we would get charged a lot to issue a lot of electricity up there. And additional lighting and stuff like that would be really costly. So we probably wouldn't be operating a lot of these activities at night. I would say for sledding or tubing or skiing or any of that, within the next couple of years, if we were to act upon that, it would be special once a month type of activities that we would have, like Friday night lights, like the old skiing. You know, we throw that up for maybe a weekend and say, we'll have the lights on a little bit later than normal. But no, I don't plan on having lights active 7 days a week or, you know, the entire month.
How many parking spaces do you have?
Currently on the plan, I believe the lot size was actually smaller when these plans were made. It says that we have 92 gravel parking spaces, but I know just in front of the lodge itself we can fit around 90. And that doesn't include the parking spaces that go over here. And depending on the layout that we do of the parking spaces would change that.
So if you have all these activities and you don't know, what happens with overcapacity? Do you have other, I mean, if you have more people than 90 people come because you have all these activities, what do you do?
I mean, I would assume if there isn't parking, they wouldn't stick around. I mean, there's a no parking ban already on Moose Mountain, so we wouldn't have traffic, you know, overflow into the road that's already prohibited. So, I mean, we would count for, you know, arrival. Our process now is that when anyone's using the mountain for any recreational activity, because we do keep it open to the public, it is to check in the back ticket window or to check in the lodge with us. So when we have our program running inside, we can keep a head count of who's on property.
I think if I remember right, it was the overflow at parking back when Bob had it. Mark Black.
Excuse me, we're not open to public comment.
Oh,
Yeah,
all right.
I'll get to you. Any other board questions, comments?
No.
Can you ask her this one?
Sure. The second caretaker dwelling, I guess you're calling it.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit and whether you think it requires a conditional use permit? It does require a zoning variance.
Right, so I did speak with the zoning board because you did ask us to get in touch with them. They said that I would have to go through you guys first, and if that got denied, and then I would have to go see them. But the second caretaker's dwelling is for the purpose of, we have two property owners, one who currently stays in the caretaker dwelling that's available. Both of them would like equal opportunity to monitor the land and make sure that they're there when needed, just in case we have any building issues. And if you were wondering about construction, it would be, probably added to an existing structure that's already there. Like I said, we aren't proposing any new building structures at this time.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
So would you have to pay for skating?
It would depend on what our cost is per season. So if we are taking additional costs into play, if we decide, the first year our rink looks really good, but, we could use some maintenance every week and we have to have someone come in and fix up the ice for us or something like that, we may have to charge. A big plan of ours for all of the mountain activities are to do a base rate cost at the beginning and have everyone become a Moose Mountain member, and that would basically cover all maintenance that we have to cover all year. Because for the last couple years that sledding, tubing, all of that has been offered to everyone, the property owners actually take that cost and groom those hills out of pocket without charging. And we've just been going off of the honor box system.
Anyone else on the board?
I got one more. Hours of operation.
So when Bob had his previous site plan done, he put the hours of operation at 6 a.m. to midnight. And then, employees could be there between operating hours if, maintenance had to be done or people were cleaning up the kitchen after hours or something like that. All of these activities would have separate operational hours. Most of the activities outside would operate during the day. Some, like I said, with the chance that we have those once a month nights that we're operating a little bit later outside. As far as the restaurant, we only serve lunch and dinner right now. So the earliest we open is 11 a.m. and the latest we've been open is 11 p.m. Those are our summer hours. And then, everything can kind of vary. If we add breakfast, we'll probably open a little bit earlier, like 6 a.m. But it really depends on the activity, the time of year.
Good. I guess I have an observation. I'm just wondering if 11 p.m. is consistent with other restaurants in the area.
For this area, if you're considering Wakefield, if you mean like a 5 to 10 mile radius, I would say it is, because we have Blue Bay, which is out in East Wakefield. They operate until 11, sometimes midnight. Then if you go over into Wolfboro, there's actually a couple restaurants that are open until 11 o'clock. But we do that just to, there's a lot of service industry workers. I mean, I've been a service industry worker. We work until, 9 or 10, and then you want to grab something to eat, or you watch a game super late and you want something to eat after the game, you can come by and grab something quick.
Anything else from the board? Okay, we're now going to open the hearing up to public comments. Please state your name and your address. This is your first.
I was, Mark Blackwood, I live on Bushmont Road, 2 houses here. I was going to address what you were saying, the one about the parking. I think Bob used to, like some of the big events like
Sir, could you stand so everyone can hear?
during like the poker run when we had tubing. I think they expanded the parking out front to the field, which was where the overflow went before. Just one thing, I think Bob and you guys have done a good job overall since I've been there. RV parking, all this other stuff's day use. I do have a concern with that because that's overnight use. Is how many RVs? Is there going to be a log of the people who are in our neighborhood? I do have a little concern if it gets bigger with the speed limit on the road. I'd like to see it. I mean, being someone who personally had their dog run over in front of the ski area, in front of their kids at the bus stop, if there's a lot more traffic on the road, I'd like to see it. If there's a blind corner on the road, I wouldn't mind seeing it go down as well. I don't know how the rest of the neighbors feel, but I think everyone's had a close call on that corner. RVs, like I said, I'm not against all this, but that I have a question about. I think you guys have done a good job, but that's concerning to me. People typically at campgrounds and staying overnight at motels don't quite act like they do at home, or, so.
Can I have the floor to respond?
Sure. That's what I'd love to hear.
Yeah. So for RV parking, we do plan if anyone's going to stay overnight, they stay within our camera's view. So they would all be on camera. It would be in everyone's best interest that no one's actually active on the mountain overnight. So that RV parking would happen here in front of the lodge, and it would be at our discretion. So it wouldn't be something that we would advertise and say, hey, we have 13 spots available for RV parking every weekend, all summer long. It is something that we would give out as someone's going for an early sunrise hike and they're from somewhere else and they want to stay the night so they can get up at 4 a.m. and hike the mountain and catch that sunrise. We would offer that to them.
And you would document who they were.
Exactly, of course,
and such.
absolutely. We do that anyways with everyone who's on property. So a lot of our waivers and our sign-in sheets already are online. So we have QR codes for a lot of those things, which takes name, age, address, stuff like that. And that keeps a record in our file. And we have access to those.
And what would the max number of RVs?
I wouldn't be able to give you a max number, but I can assure you that it's not going to be something that is going to seem like a standard campground.
Yeah, because I mean, I think we've all been here not that long ago for a campground, you know, like,
Yeah.
it's a concern. That's a concern of mine. Like I said, you guys have spent a lot of money. I think you deserve to make some money, and I think you've done a good job, but that's a concern to me. And like I said, as far as traffic on the road,
And-
that's a concern to me. I don't know if this is the right place to
And no,
say it.
traffic is a big part of the site plan review, and I know that. So we've had people raise concern about, the wear and tear on the road, such and such. We are a place that serves alcohol, so the conditions of people leaving the place. With our liquor license, we already have the liability is on us. We do have regulations that we have to follow while serving people. There is obviously a legal limit. And then we actually are working for signage all over the mountain, and that includes signage on the way out of the property, reminding people that they're in a residential area. Going left would be a dead end, going right would lead you to Governor's Road, and that the speed limit is, 30. And I do agree with you that the speed limit should probably be lowered if the traffic is going to increase. But the traffic increase currently from last year hasn't increased that much. When me and Bridget started working on this, throughout the winter, we had on a Saturday day, maybe 35 people sledding and tubing out on the hill, and there was no lodge access, so people were just out there. Or even with summer access, we had plenty of hikers out there, and we had people running disc golf tournaments that weren't being run through us, which would host, anywhere between 60 and 90 players. So far, maybe regular everyday occurrence of new people on the road is there, but the level of traffic, I don't believe, has increased tremendously to the point where it's necessarily a concern at this moment. I can see down the line where it could be.
Yeah, I just think new people on the road who don't know that there's a blind hill there.
Yeah.
Like I said, everyone who's lived on the road has had a close call there of people walking. Like I said, my family, we had our family dog just run over in front of the ski area at the bus stop. And people who don't know the road, I think if you're gonna have more traffic, wouldn't hurt to have it a little slower. But overall, like I said, my big concern is the RVs. And thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Jackson, 2nd, 62 Moose Mountain Road. I can address the RV concern. One of the things that my wife and I are members of is called Harvest Host. It's actually a membership only, which you can stay at restaurants, resorts, breweries, wineries, museums, and they vet all of their members before. So any host that is allowing someone from Harvest Host to stay on their property receives the membership's information, and they have a whole background of whether or not this is a person that you can trust on their property, and they have reviews as well from places they've stayed previously. that was something I'd recommend you do if you do that.
Thank you.
Other public comments?
Dana Jewett, 5 Comeau Dick Road. So again, my concern follows suit with the RV parking, boondocking of RVs, conversion vans, buses, what have you, and the ability for that to grow down the road. Because one of the things I look at, right, we might be talking about this right now, but the ability for it to grow down the road. The other thing is the live entertainment outside, right? So if we have an outside bar, live entertainment, are we talking Iron Tails, 10, 11 o'clock at night, hard rock bands? I'll probably be there, but yet, if I'm not, I'm gonna have a concern with the noise level at night, right? So, I mean, those are just a couple things of concerns I have, as well as the road.
So as far as live entertainment goes, most of the bands that we do book currently are more of an acoustic sound. Normally 1 to 2 players, occasionally, I think 3 times this year, we've had a 4 or 5 piece band. I know that there has been complaints of being able to hear the music down the road already. I'm a little concerned because it is inside.
So with the church, that was a concern that I had with the church, right? The church had something going on over there, and you could hear it clear as day, I think, 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
So again, that's the concern I have, is it can be 2 or 3 member band right now, but down the road, right, you get in that big turnout, you're like, well, let's bring in a bigger band, more people, that's gonna be loud, right? So if you've got somebody out there, it's gonna be loud. And so that's all coming off the mountain back towards us that live right there.
Yeah. So as of right now, we have a pretty small capacity for what the restaurant can actually hold. So if we were to have a band outside, there's only so many people that we can have there anyways. So going out of our way to hire a 4 or 5 piece band that's really well known, probably brings 1,000 people in a night, we wouldn't book anyways because we wouldn't be able to host that amount of people. As far as noise goes and timelines, the music has never gone later than 10 o'clock. Even in the summer when we were open until 11, we had the band stop an hour before. Everyone can die down in the restaurant, everyone can relax. And then it is an earlier time. When we do have live music, it's normally on Saturday nights. Could change to Friday and Saturday nights. But it would be weather permitting. We would post, when those people were coming. If it was going to be a little bit louder than normal, we would notify people. But our outdoor seating area as well is very small. So in order to have a band out there that's going to sound the best to the people that are only 15 feet in front of them, they're only going to play to the sound that's going to travel 15 feet in front of them. They're not going to be performing at something that's going to be traveling much further than where people are at, because at that rate it would sound bad. And as far as the road goes, I agree, there should be a little concern there, but we're going to make signs on our side preventing people from leaving there recklessly. But I did agree, we could change the speed limit or even add a few more signs. Children at play, slow, blind corner, sharp turn, whatever it happens to be. There are already bigger trucks that travel on that road as is, so I think, there could be some more signing there as well.
Other public comments?
Rob Collins, 262 Stone Road. I know a lot of faces here, you guys know that I run Frosty Brewery. I'm thrilled that we've got another business here in town that people can go to, relax, and have a good time. So I'll start by saying I'm really supportive of these guys. And in terms of outside alcohol, we at the brewery are allowed a very large area where we serve beer, and we've had no problems so far. Outdoor music, we tried outdoor music a little bit. We've got neighbors, so we went acoustic only, and the neighbors didn't complain, as far as I know, but also the people that came weren't super happy because the people that go see a band want it to be louder than we felt comfortable with in a neighborhood. So I live on the other side of town. I'm 4 miles away, but our view is Moose Mountain Road. And the things I'm concerned about are light pollution. Not thrilled about the idea of bright lights late at night or even into the evening, and noise, right? I think, if I can hear a band on This playing outside, it's gonna be bad, it's way too loud for this town. In terms of process, my opinion is that nowhere near enough of a plan is in this site plan. We don't know hours of any of this. There's stuff drawn with no actual plan. It might be here, it might be there. We're gonna do RVs, but we don't know how many. So I'm concerned. I would urge the planning board to think about that, and because as far as I know, and maybe somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a lawyer, if the planning board says they can do something, they can do it forever. And if there aren't limitations put on it, you can't put limitations later. So if they're allowed to do RVs with no limitations, you could, I don't think they're going to do it. But somebody else in the future might have 50 RVs up there, right? So if you're going to allow something, think about how to put a box around it so that it works for everybody. And if in 2 years, 3 years, it's been going great and they want to go bigger, they can come back and you can say, yeah, let's go bigger, it's been good. So anyway, just my 2 cents. Just ask the planning board to be thoughtful and think about not just what these guys could do, but what a future owner might do. How big, how bad could it get? But I wish these guys the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Our town council will respond to that.
My name is Laura Spector-Moran, and I represent the town of Brookfield, and part of why there's been a delay in getting to this point is because the board has been asking for the site plan, and we haven't seen it until tonight. We fully understand that whatever gets approved is approved forever. With regard to the RV parking in particular, that is not a permitted use in the district. That is a conditional use in the district. Ms. Mountain did not apply for any conditional uses. They did not fill out the conditional use permit portion of the application. So RV parking and camping is not something that can be approved tonight. It is not something that was applied for. So for everyone who's concerned about the RV camping, it is not something that this board can approve. And with all due respect, I know Ms. Mountain believes that their application is deemed approved. We disagree. The board is going to take action tonight, and even if the board were not to take action tonight, because the conditional use permit portion of the application was not filled out, the RV camping would still not be deemed approved because they didn't apply for the conditional use permit. So the board fully understands the implications of what it's approving tonight.
Thanks, Laura.
Melissa Scruton, 41 Pike Brook Road. Do we not have a town noise ordinance?
I have no idea what
Already? Right, because I can blast the radio in my house so all my neighbors can hear it too. I think this is a new business coming into town, and I understand everybody's concern, but these are public roads. It's not these girls' responsibilities to change speed limits, right? They're a small business, they're trying. And it's really hard to see them shot down every time they try something new. So, I think you guys are great. I support you. I've been there. Your bands aren't out of control. It's not too loud. The food's good. So I stand behind you guys.
Thank you.
I don't believe we have a noise ordinance in the rec zone, only for home occupations and home businesses. Yes.
Hi, my name is Diane Dowling. I'm at 427 Highway, Mountain Highway. I just want to thank you for coming in and doing a family-oriented business. I have little grandkids, and I've taken one of them over there a few times. She loves it. The lodge is beautiful. But I'm in total support of a family-oriented business coming into this area. I don't have to drive up to Conway to do something or St. Pine or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other public comments? Yes.
Yes, Tim Straz, 128 Goose Mountain Road. It's great to have a new business in town. It's long overdue, so congratulations and welcome to the neighborhood. My concern would be more of a procedural one for the planning board. We're talking about here about amending our zoning ordinance and creating new uses that are allowable in Rec 1. Is that something that the board can approve tonight, without a vote by the town as a warrant article for us all, everybody in the town to vote on.
Town can only approve uses, the planning board can only approve uses that are listed as a permitted use in your zoning ordinance.
Very good, thank you.
Yes?
David Godero, what are the other, you said some of the uses that they apply for are conditional and not permitted. What are they all? Like, can you go through what they're asking for, tell us which ones are out, they can't proceed with tonight?
So there's some on the application, there's others on the plan that don't necessarily all match up. So I can tell you what the permitted uses are and the conditionally permitted uses are. Would that be helpful?
I got it.
I mean, they apply for all permitted uses, so.
I have a question. In our zoning, the permitted uses are continued permitted uses as they stand on the website right now. They're no longer labeled conditional uses.
The version of the ordinance I have in front of me, which is from 2024, has permitted uses and has conditional uses. And the permitted uses are alpine slide, man-made, archery, astronomy, ATV trail riding, banquet facility activities, bird watching, club or business meetings or training activities, cross-country skiing, dancing, day camp, disc golf course, downhill skiing, equipment rental service for permitted uses only, equipment sales excluding snowmobiles for permitted uses only, fishing, food service / activity driven, full service restaurant, horseback riding, hot air ballooning, hunting, indoor gaming events, luge, miniature golf, mountain biking, non-competitive, one caretaker dwelling, orienteering, racket sports, skate park, skating, ski jumping, snowshoeing, snowboarding, snowmobile rentals, snowmobile trail riding, swimming, theater, trail running, non-competitive, tubing, vending carts, weddings, and zip lines. The conditional uses are antique shows, arts and crafts shows, biathlon, powerboat vehicle shows, concerts, indoor and outdoor, conventions or conferences, farmers markets, flea markets, gun shows, high wire adventure, hunting preserve, mountain biking competitive, overnight camps, RV camping, snowmobiling competition, tent camping, tractor pulls, competitive trail running, and water slides.
At the top of that page, it does read recreational zone, Rec 1, permitted uses continued, correct?
Nope, mine says the following uses are permitted by conditional use permit in the recreational zone.
I printed this today.
The following uses are permitted by conditional use permit in the recreational zone.
But it says permitted uses continued.
But then it says the following uses are permitted by conditional use permit in the recreational zone. So they're permitted, but they're permitted by conditional use permit.
But if we filed for site plan, was that not?
No, because you didn't fill out the conditional use permit application. In fact, you crossed it out.
Other comments? Jan?
Jan Ledbetter, 359 Wentworth Road. This is more for the planning board, and it's regarding RSA 9-E3. I don't think we have this in Brookfield, but this is about creating or encouraging the development of dark sky ordinances to preserve our rural character. And RSA 9-E3 essentially says New Hampshire encourages municipalities to enact local ordinances and regulations as they deem appropriate to conserve energy by outdoor lighting, to minimize light pollution and glare, and to preserve dark skies as a feature of rural character whenever practicable. So, sort of related to what Molly has prepared, whatever the decision is tonight, it goes forward to Rob's point. I think it's really important to preserve when we can the dark skies in this town. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Yes.
Chris Veteran, 104 Clark Road.
Molly, 603 Moose Mountain LLC. You do a great job, and I'm so personally excited to see Moose Mountain come alive again. Myself and I know several others in this room as well who are skiing. I worked for the burgers, so there was a restaurant at one time. I wasn't very good at it, but and I'm just excited to support you all as a small business, and I do hope that Brookfield also encourages our small businesses with that.
Frank Fraser, Lyford Road. And full disclosure, former planning board chairman. I think I was chairman when this happened. And I was on the citizens committee that came up with this zoning, this list that Laura just read to you. We had several charrettes, we had Saturday gatherings, we had, that's when Bob wanted to bring the mountain back alive. And we had this huge list of potential uses that could happen on the mountain, and we narrowed it down to what is in our zoning today. And we divided it into the two categories, the permitted uses and the conditional uses, so that the town would continue to have, with the conditional uses, to be able to say, hey, those are things that might get out of control. There might be big concerts. There might be 1,000 people at a big concert and things like that. So let's make those conditional uses so at least the planning board would look at them and look at them on a case-by-case basis. But what made it to the permitted uses list, we didn't want to see a viable business there, because we thought it is good for the community. It is a good thing to have the mountain back alive again a little bit. So how to balance that, and this was the best effort at that time, in concert with the owner at that time, who was happy with this, to work under that. I want to point out, you were asking for two caretakers. That was a hot button. So one, the zoning says one caretaker, one. Also, the other big issue that came up during those hearings, for those of us in the room that were around at that time, and that was later night hours and traffic on the road, not only just for the abutters around the mountain itself, but everybody on Moose Mountain Road and on Governor's Road, to be considerate of that. And again, that's why the things that appear to have higher traffic, higher potential for higher traffic stuff were put as conditional use items so that they could be looked at on a case-by-case basis. So if things did get really, it really did start happening, and it got to be it got to be a Loon Mountain, which Brookfield isn't big enough to support an operation like that, the town would have some recourse in saying, well, wait a minute, we need to slow this down a little bit. So that's the history of how this came about. We didn't want the business in town, but we wanted to keep it appropriately sized for the size of our town, and our fire, and our emergency response, and all that kind of stuff. So.
Does the town have a position on which of the permitted uses have already been approved by the planning board and are therefore not covered by this application because they're already approved?
Functions, events, and tubing have been previously approved, and disc golf has been tacitly approved.
Thank you.
And functions require selectmen application.
I'm sorry, say that last part?
Selectmen approval is required for functions.
Like special events.
Special.
Thank you.
Yes.
Janet Williamson, Lyford Road. Sorry about my voice, I'm losing it. I just want to say I've been in town almost 35 years, and I was former chairman of the planning board back in the early 90s. And as long as I can remember, people in this town have wanted a place where we could have events, where we could have children's activities, etc. And it's sitting right in front of us, and I'm very much in support, and thank you for what you've done. I think you're doing it on the right scale, and I think you're coming at it with a good heart. So hopefully we can work out the details and the town can support it. Thank you.
I'm a loudmouth, you won't have a problem hearing me. A couple of things. First of all, there are no dark skies. Oh, sorry, J. Anderson, 4275 White Mountain, Wakefield. So, for the record, there are no dark sky requirements at this time. Is that a yes or no?
I'm not aware of it.
There's no ordinance, right? There are also no noise ordinances, right?
Not that we're aware of.
Okay. I'm also a sound engineer, so I know that noise and things like that can be mitigated. There are certain ways you can do things. There are always ways you can revisit things if there becomes a problem. I don't think you could ask for any better of a owner-operator than what they're doing right now over there. And the way they come to this, and they're pouring their heart and soul. So I am 100% behind them. I can see concerns, but it's up to you guys to maybe trim the edges a little bit and limit some things, but I don't see any problem with anything they want to do over there. As people have said, this town, this area is certainly short on places for kids and grandkids to go, be safe, and know that if you drop them off, there's not going to be problems, and they can spend a few hours there, do their thing. I did it when I was a kid at that mountain. So I totally think this is something that the community would benefit from.
Jeremy Marcotte, 310 Government Road. I like what they have going on from what I've heard so far, and I myself am a small business owner starting up in this area doing recreational therapy with canoeing, bushcrafting, and outdoor stuff like that, so I'd like to help you guys out if I can. I've been in the area about 10 years now. I have kids. I've been up to that mountain hiking, running, things like that, taking the kids snowshoeing. The concerns with RVs, I can see where everybody's going with that. Noise, we've already had that covered. I think with what you guys have going on, it seems like you've got a pretty good site plan, from what I can tell. I'd like to see more details, but that's another situation for another time. I think we need it. I mean, we need it for the town. Kids are bored. They're always on their screens. It's really easy to get tied into that. If we give a place to go,
Or worse.
Or worse, yeah, exactly. If we have a place to go where we can actually go and get outside without having to just travel 2 hours away to go do something, that's going to help everybody in this area. Everybody. It's not just us, it's everybody in the surrounding area. We have a mountain in our backyard that we're not even freaking using because we have conditions. Guys, come on. We're going to be here a long time. We have a chance to make this better for every one of us involved. Let's get some support behind these guys.
Ed Goffey, 2 Curtis Way. From a process standpoint, if there are permitted uses in the zoning area, it doesn't necessarily mean that they can do that without first getting approval from this board, which is called a site plan review. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. And that's the purpose of this is to consider that site plan review, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if there's 15, 20 items listed, each one of them has to have approval by the board, even though it's on the permitted use list. Thank you.
John Ebinger, 96 Moose Mountain Road. I think the idea is great. Who doesn't want to hear the children tubing and having fun, adults out in the yard, music? My only issue with all of this is there's just not enough detail. You can go too far in one direction and then argue later that it was approved. I think the idea is great. You're doing the best you can with what you have. There's just not enough, I mean, like, if you're gonna have RVs, did you ever mention like pump out stations? Is that part of the idea? Or are you gonna have holding tanks?
Nope.
You know, that little things like that need more details. It's too easy to run away with just a yes, it's approved, and go with it. I'm all for it, but it's gotta be more structured. That's all I need to say. I think it's great. That's why I moved here. I like to hear it, I like to see it, but I don't want it to stick morph without control. The idea with the lights, thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much.
As far as RV parking, you mentioned, pump houses and stuff like that. It won't be, we won't have any hookups. So it would just be single overnights. We wouldn't, run power to it. They would have to be self-sufficient in themselves. And that's why I said, we are offering a...
And then you go, if they're self-sufficient, we're gonna hit generators all night. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You can boondog for a week and a half.
One person on the floor, whoever, that's all it's fine.
Yeah, I go anywhere camping, generators all night. Everybody has to have a generator if you don't have hookups.
Molly?
Yeah, so I hear your concerns with that. If you are running a generator in an RV, I would assume you wouldn't want to be able to hear your generator from inside your RV. So I would assume the noise level from a generator self-sustaining one RV in the parking lot, which is 450 feet away from the road, which would be 500 feet away from...
I have to disagree with you.
Go back and forth. And then, our next abutting property, it wouldn't touch sound of a generator. We have generators that have actually run at Moose Mountain, and I have not had a single complaint of generators running at Moose Mountain. I do understand that the RV parking is a big concern. I know that Brookfield has had multiple conversations about campgrounds and RV parking, etc. in the area. Like I said, I'm not looking to open a campground. I'm looking to offer for a select few that would sign in, have the approval from the owners, that they can spend a singular night or a few nights on a special occasion with permission from us to be able to spend the night in the parking lot. That's my response.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I've been there long enough. I know how sound travels in that low area. I can hear people talking in your parking lot inside my house, okay? I can hear every time the owners start something up, I can hear it clearly. Generators are generally more loud than a pickup truck idling. So your assumption that the noise isn't gonna go beyond the edge of your property, I think you're overestimating that. So and again, this goes back to my point. I like the whole idea of the recreation, serving food, people going over there. It's just, it needs to be really nailed down to every single detail before anything new is approved. The restaurant and all that, that's been fine. Drinks, the tubing, it's great. But I think without more details, it just gives people an argument to say, well, it was approved when it's too late for us to do anything.
You had a question?
Yeah, just about along the lines of what he was saying with regard to pump out stations. What about gray water disposal? Some people sometimes just empty that out.
That would not be something that we would offer, since we're offering a limited stay. Like I said, it would be for those rare cases that, it's either one of our owners knows, or someone that has come to us saying, hey, we have, us and our 2 kids, we didn't want to get up super early to do a sunrise hike here. I hiked Copple Ground. Copple Ground's the East Peak. It's an amazing spot for a sunrise hike. Same with if you cross over Moose Mountain and go onto the Phoebe Naples route. that's a great sunrise hike. If people wanted to do that and wanted to be able to spend the one night and got in touch with us, that is how that would happen, and we wouldn't be offering, all of the things that come with a traditional RV parking system.
Ed Garfield, Two Prairies Way. To the point of detail, I hear what you're saying, and I don't doubt your intent for 1 minute. When you said RVs are intended for just a few select people you know. Molly and Steve are not going to be around forever. So the next person comes in and says, oh, I can park RVs here. That's when it gets out of control. Your intentions may be pure and sincere, and I don't discount them for a second. But as someone pointed out earlier, disapproval goes with the land.
Right.
And somebody could have completely different interpretation. If you don't have the detail in there to specifically define what you're talking about, it makes it very difficult to approve.
As myself, I'm not going to set my own limitation. I would leave that up to interpretation from the board, what they see feasible for our property. If they say, well, your parking lot is really only a 1/10 of a mile long, and we don't want too many, noises happening or too many people there overnight, let's cap it off at this amount. We could talk about that with the board and put that in the parameters of the site plan itself. Everything here is still up for negotiation and to talk about and to further evaluate. I do have more information and more, details on some of these operations, but I'm not going to sit here and go and read through, 62 different, activities and what those might entail. A lot of the process that we've taken in thinking about these activities and what we're going to do and how they're going to operate is based off common sense and the area that we live in. I'm not looking to open up, gun stock or a huge area. I'm a local as well, I grew up here. I know that, when Dunkin' Donuts got put in Union, that was like, we were getting, a shopping mall. Like, it was the biggest thing ever. That's not what we're doing here. we're simply opening, an area for locals and kids and stuff like that. The parameters can be set. The board can discuss what they would like, to limit us on with the stuff in our application. That is totally fine. And we're looking to, work with the board, and that has been our standpoint the entire time. And as far as, the board didn't know about a lot of these details prior, I did go to a special meeting with these paragraphs and details in explanation because they had asked for them. So I have supplied them. I did go in to speak about them. And I do have more details if people want to ask, more specifics on, the skiing operation hours. I can give more information on that. If they wanted more information on the lift itself. We have the tubing lift that was issued in 2009. It's about 503 feet in climb. The rope is 503 feet. That's how far you'd be going up. You'd be going up on this left side where the tubing hill is. You can tube on the left, ski and snowboard down the right, and that's all we have right now. Skiing and snowboarding, we'll probably never issue lifts again. The insurance is too high, the cost to operate is too high, and the cost to make snow for the entire north face of the mountain is too high. So we won't, like I said, we don't even have the magnitude of power to operate at the level you guys are thinking at. We have single phase power. To bring 3-phase power from 16 to Moose Mountain would be $1 billion operation. Look at me, my pockets aren't deep. I'm not bringing 3-phase power over to Moose Mountain to operate, at the level that people are concerned about. We have, very, very rough sketches, very rough ideas of what's being proposed, but I can assure most of you guys, and I know the concern is after me, after Steve, after Bridget, after Dana, who's going to take charge. But 10 years ago, Gary Ciccarone, he had the same question. What happens in 10 years down the line when people want to act on this, when they were separating the permitted and conditional uses and they were changing the layout of those uses itself? He had that same concern. What's going to happen in 10 years? And when me and Bridget watched that video back of him saying that, it was like, oh my God, he's talking to me. I'm 10 years down the line. He's talking to me and what I'm going to do. I think when you look at Moose Mountain and what it has to offer, you know of its limitations already. I
I
understand.
appreciate what you're saying. My
Yeah.
point is that needs to be in writing when it's presented for the site plan review. Because they're gonna base a decision on those facts. To say, I want to park RVs is not enough information. That's my point. You just did a great explanation in 5 minutes. Put it in writing.
Well, the site plan, what's approved from the site plan will be written again into what's approved, and that will be put into this, the town file. So, I mean, when we negotiate that, we come to terms with, okay, we approved skiing, but we approved it with operational hours of this, and there's a lighting ordinance that we want to put in place, we're going to restrict it here. That would be written on the final, as to what I assume, and what Bob's looks like, that would be written on the final site plan that goes in the town file and what's approved. And that's all still up for discussion.
I'm just asking for a million to go ahead 10 years down the road. I can tell you right now, in 2 months down the road, I'm not gonna remember anything you said.
Well, it's a good thing we got camera, so we can watch it back as many times as we like.
Last comment, we're going to take a recess for 5 minutes.
So my question is, this was already approved
Could you
for
give your
zoning
name?
for most, oh, sorry, Melissa Scruton, 41 Pike Brook. Thank you. I guess my point is that most of what you're going for was already approved, pre-approved, pre-zoning, right? And you're going through this now, so my comment would be any other business that decides to come in 10 years and take over from where they're at, they're gonna have to go through this process as well. So approving it through them does not mean that 5 owners down the road that are not have a mosh pit in the backyard and the lights are going 24/7, it really doesn't come into play. Anybody else that came in would have to present in front of you as well, correct? The site plan and...
Anything that's approved today would continue to be approved for future owners. Any changes would need to be approved by the board.
Okay.
And there could be conditions on those approvals. Rod, did you have a question?
Yeah, so Molly, I think, I'm back here at the point, it's hard to hear. I think Molly just said that she had a lot more detail, and she's saving us the torture of going through the 62 different things. If she's given that detail to the board, does the board have a lot more detail than we've been presented with?
No.
If I may. I did write paragraphs for all of these uses. I asked the board if when I submitted this, synapse of what we were going to be presenting, I asked if it would be holding me legally to what I wrote down. Because it was just a rough proposal and that's what I was bringing to the board for discussion. The chairman at the time told me that I would not be held to a legal standard with what I submitted. So when I went into the meeting, the chairman was not there, and I met with most of the people that are up here currently. They asked me about a few big things that they were concerned about. I think the skating rink was talked about that day because they thought, I was going to be out there with a Zamboni, and I needed a Zamboni shed, and I need all this stuff. And I explained to them that's not what we're looking to do. I put a rough, size area of what this skating rink would look like. And then, we've moved on to the next topic. I didn't print it out because I didn't want the opinion of the board to change and then me be held to the writing that I handed in, knowing the power that written language holds. So then when I revisited the board and I talked to the chairman after the fact when they were telling me that I didn't submit this writing with all of this explanation in it, I explained to him, I said, well, no, I didn't because I didn't want to back myself into a corner where, the limitation to discuss things wouldn't still be there. And I said, if I submit this in writing, will I be held legally binding to it? He said, well, of course you would. It's in writing. And I said, and that's exactly why I didn't hand it in, is because this is a rough proposal of what we're offering to do. Then, it's up for discussion between me and the board and what they want to approve as far as these go.
Okay, we're going to take a recess for 5 minutes.
We're going to take a recess.
All right, we'll just be about 1 minute and council are chatting right now. Okay, we're still in the public comment period. Sorry?
I'm not the old gentleman.
So,
Who are you?
name and address.
I'm Ralph Claude,
From where?
from Wakefield.
Thanks.
I'm a butter. I've heard that anything approved would go with the next owners. But what about everything that was approved with Bobby Bordeaux? 10 years ago, 11 years ago, we had an event there, a class reunion, live band, restaurant, all of that stuff. But I didn't hear you mention a restaurant with the approved uses for Marlon and Bridget, Steve and Dana.
A restaurant was not approved. A function and event space was approved.
For a bar?
Mhm.
Well, they were serving us food.
It was a function and event space, yes.
Okay, well, okay. I think what they're trying to do is wonderful, and I think this board should embrace it. Another thing, about the second caretaker unit, hopefully the planning board is aware of the workforce housing requirements for towns and municipalities. I think 20% of your residences are supposed to be available for workforce housing. You might want to jump on the opportunity to come in compliance with that and allow a second caretaker. That would certainly conform to the workforce housing requirements of the state.
Mark Lockwood, 363 Wentworth Road. Molly, thank you for coming and sharing all this and answering questions. My wife and I have been up to the lodge a couple times and enjoyed it. It seems to me from what I'm hearing that there's a lot of support for what you're doing and some concern. But even where there's concern, there's still a lot of support. So it seems to me if you're willing to revisit some of the details, with some that's mentioned, lighting, maybe hours of operation, some pretty basic things to me, especially if I lived on that road, that I would want addressed, including the RV, which seems to be a big issue. But if you just took that off the table right now and got a lot of the other stuff approved, had some lighting, some timing, some sound, and got all of that approved, and then, get the RV later if you want to do it, or whatever it is. That seems to be a sticking point. And I know there's been frustration, I hear that, but we are where we are now, and I know there sounds like there's some legal issues, but if you're willing to go past that and just kind of address some of the details, I feel like you're going to get most of everything you want, and everyone here is going to be real happy.
Okay. Anyone else?
This is Frank Fraser again. Just to, Ralph, we do have a workforce overlay zone in our town and a workforce overlay ordinance. It does not include, it's the yellow on this map in our zoning. It does not include the Rec 1 zone, so it doesn't apply.
Thank you. Rob?
I would ask the board to the extent there's reason, keep working with the applicant to see if you can encourage them to be specific. And don't approve things that aren't specific. I mean, I don't think it's the board's job to just define what they should do. I think the board's job should be to draw a box around what they would like to do and put strict limits around what they say they'd like to do. I think it's a much healthier process, and they'll be happier, and we'll be happier. And Molly, I'm speaking to the chair, but I would suggest that Molly would benefit from just saying what she wants to do. And she'll be happy with it at least for a period of time, and when she gets unhappy with it, just come back with what you want to do next. and they'd be happy to hear you. Thank you.
On that note, are you willing to extend the deadline for the planning board to act on your application?
With the reservation that obviously from our position that under the current regulations that this should be deemed approval, without waiving that, we would agree to come back at a further hearing if the board feels that there needs to be some additional details.
I think if you are willing to submit the additional paragraphs that you say you have put together with the understanding that you are seeing it as a rough outline, that you would like to be a starting negotiation point with the board, I think the board would be happy to take that information, hold a further public hearing, and have that discussion with you so that we can work towards an approval that will make both you and the town happy.
And when I submit that in writing, would that be legally binding and be held for what would be put on the site plan, or would there still be negotiation between the board and us?
As I said, that would be your application, but I understand that what you are proposing is your proposal, and we will not deem it as it's this or nothing, that it would be a discussion, and we'd work together to come to terms that would satisfy everyone.
Okay, and if I had that on me right now, would that be able to be something that we could discuss currently?
I think the board should have the opportunity to read it and discuss it with me and compare it with the ordinance and the regulations, and then come back having acquainted itself with it. I hate for them to be put on the spot right now to read it and digest it and have an educated conversation with you. I don't think that's fair to them. But we would be happy to take it and schedule another public hearing quickly.
Yeah, my only concern is the timeline.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been working with the board since February, is when we first reached out. And I mean, the answers haven't been clear in any manner at any meeting. You know, the stuff that has been asked of us hasn't been very clear. And when I do go back, such as, you know, the reports, the 32 paragraphs that I did have ready to present to that board that day, you know, was then told that it didn't need to be submitted to the board, and it was just for me, so I would be prepared for the public hearing. So when I went in and I had that, they told me I didn't need to officially submit that for review.
I appreciate your frustration. I think there's been a lot of miscommunication. I think that the board feels like it has expressed to you in writing a request for additional information. It hasn't received that, and I feel like you have offered additional information that the board hasn't taken. I'm involved now, Dan's involved now. I would love if we could just say, let's work together now with a fresh start, and let's work together to come up with a site plan approval that's going to work for you and the town for a long time to come, because you're going to need to be partners. The board doesn't do site plan review very often. This is the only property in town that ever gets site plan approval. You all didn't understand you needed site plan review for permitted uses. Let's all just find a way to work through the process together.
I just have one question for you, because I haven't been able to speak to you directly. I know previously I had brought to the attention that permitted uses were told from 2009 until 2020 that permitted uses did not have to go through site plan review for multiple boards, for multiple activities that were held at Moose Mountain. Is there any reason why the activities we're looking to do now require the site plan, and that is now the process of 2024, even though there's no language change?
I don't know who told you that. I can tell you special events are permitted through the special event permit process. What else? They don't need to go through site plan approval.
The special event permit that was currently in place for the planning board wasn't for private property until a few weeks ago.
I don't know what the special event process has been, and I don't know who told anyone that, and I don't know what was told, and I don't know what the situation was, so I can't answer that question.
Right.
But I can tell you that the law in New Hampshire, and Attorney Muller will tell you the same thing, is that just because something's a permitted use, if it's a non-residential use, it needs site plan approval in order to be permitted on any property.
I don't
If you
want
want to talk about it,
yeah,
see where you
I want
can.
to extend kind of talk to
Yeah,
them.
absolutely.
I don't
Go
want
ahead.
to call them and
And
stuff.
while you're doing that, why don't we figure out the next time we can have a meeting?
Yeah, perfect, sounds great.
I'm back with everyone's calendar. Oh, yeah.
Recess, next time, the next meeting, public comment period is
How's the week of February 10th look for everybody?
February 10th?
Yes.
So we have our regular meeting that Monday. On the 10th, yeah. Yep.
I can't be here on the 10th. I have to be in Center Harbor. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So we have to have 10 days, right?
No, because we're going to continue. So it can be any time.
So can we do it sooner?
Can we do it at our normal planning board meeting?
She can't
Oh,
do
you
it that
can't do
night.
the 10th.
We can do it next week. We don't have a meeting. What the heck? We have 2 this week. We have the 3rd. We don't have anything next week.
I'm free next Wednesday or next Thursday or next Friday. Or if you want to meet on a Saturday, we can do it next Saturday.
Can't do that. I can do the 7th, which is Friday, or the 3rd or 4th, which is Monday, Tuesday.
February 7th?
The Board of Selectmen have a meeting on the 4th.
I can't do the 3rd or the 4th.
You can do the 7th?
I can do the 7th.
It's okay if it's
I have no life.
It's okay that it's after the selectmen's meeting, if we get the extension, right?
Yes, I will get the proof on the letter.
What time
Friday
on the
the
7th?
7th.
6 o'clock?
What time?
6 o'clock?
4, 5, 6.
Is it a
Five?
public hearing?
Yes,
Is that
it's
what
going to
it
be a
is?
public hearing.
Okay.
5, 6?
Want to split it at 5:30?
Yeah, some people can have to.
6 to the people working. 6 o'clock.
7th?
Friday the 7th at 6 o'clock.
They might not want
Okay,
that
let's pick a backup date.
Can we ask them?
because of the business.
How about the following Wednesday as an alternate?
The 12th?
12.
Okay.
The 12th, Conservation Commission has a meeting at 6.
It certainly is.
Can't do the 12th. Can we do the 13th?
Yeah, it is.
What is another one of these?
Yes.
Yeah.
Another two?
22nd is
Can
Washington.
we do it on Wednesday with the other one? Oh, no, you're gonna be here.
I can do the 12th with the Conservation Commission.
Which I'm on, so.
Yeah, we can't do the 12th because Conservation Commission. We can do the 13th.
11th.
What, did we ask about this Friday, by the way? 31st?
This Friday?
Is that too many meetings this week, I guess?
Yes.
I love you guys. I don't love you guys that much.
Well, keep in mind, they have a restaurant in Burlington.
Not yet. We will. We will do that tonight.
13th, right?
You know, in a planning board.
13th? 13th works for a backup?
The 7th or the 13th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
7th and 13th.
Okay.
7 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
7th or 13th, 6 o'clock. Want to check with them?
Well, let's make sure they're on board and then we'll throw those dates out. Okay. All right. Cool.
13th, our regular meeting.
No.
It's the 10th. It's that week.
You can move your regular meeting to the 13th if you don't have anything else.
There you go.
We've got a pretty big agenda, actually. Yeah.
I told you, Phil, Marshall, I told you, Phil, he thanked us for inviting him, but he has no interest right now. He says he's going to a few meetings, maybe September. I didn't ask him that, but I could ask him that.
He said he's gonna start on this day.
Does he want to do all this fun?
7th and 13th, but we have a regular meeting on the 10th.
I didn't know that.
Okay. As I indicated earlier, in terms of the details, we'll provide those to the board within a week, so just so we can fine tune them.
Sure, of course.
So that there is no, can try to get by any issues that have been raised tonight.
Okay. Can we keep a copy of this? Or can we get an updated copy of this with your paragraphs? Okay. Would you prefer to meet on the 7th, which is a Friday, or the 11th? 13th, sorry, or the 13th, which is Thursday.
What was the first date?
The 7th, it's a Friday.
Friday. I would go for, what time would that meeting be at?
6.
We would have to close down for one of those days for business, so.
Do you have a different,
Would, be Monday or Tuesday?
Different time?
Or earlier, yeah, earlier during the day. We don't open until 4 on Thursday, so we can do before 4 that day, or do a Monday or Tuesday.
I think in fairness for the public that, you know.
Right.
So Monday or Tuesday?
A Monday or Tuesday, yes, anytime.
it's President's Day.
Yeah.
Seventeenth.
Bridget, okay with you?
The Monday,
Yeah, why don't we just move, how about Monday the 10th?
and then
Monday the
we have our,
I can't do the 10th.
I would not be able to be here, but I could
I
have
can
some
do the
cover.
11th. Is there a reason to do the
can we
11th?
do Tuesday, the 11th?
Are you guys closed on Tuesday?
Yes, both Sunday and Tuesday.
What about 11? I mean, 11.
Do you guys want to do 2 nights in a row?
Yeah. We want this to be done.
The 11th? 6 p.m.?
Yeah.
Either I won't be
The
here.
11th at 6.
I'll get someone.
Let's just go around.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
Will someone please make a motion to continue this public hearing to 6 p.m. on Tuesday, February 11th? Will someone please second that?
Second?
Do your part.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
There will be no additional notice provided. This is your notice. All right. One other thing, I'm going to need you to withdraw your letter to the select board.
You want to repeat that date?
February 11th. At 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Or come up with some language to extend it,
Okay.
because they meet on the 4th.
We'll discuss that.
Okay?
Yeah, I understand what your position is.
Well, if
Yeah,
you, I mean,
I understand.
you understand.
I understand.
Okay. Because if you're not going to do that, we're going to take action tonight.
Okay, well, I have to, let me.
If everyone would like to come and check it out, I would be more than willing to bring everyone over there. I would need a head count, make sure it's worth it. Raise the hands if we're going to Moose after this. 1, 2, 3. Maybe, we can see. I mean,
I think she gets out of line.
I'll file a letter with some reservation language.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hearing is continued to the 11th at 6 p.m.